put it on my phone on the Do Not Disturb, and fucking woke up the next morning. I had 87 missed calls and text messages. 87.
Hey, we worried about you.
Kim said she was going to call the police, and she couldn't get a hold of me. And I'm like, God.
We all thought that you went to the Soul Train. Really? That's what we thought.
Welcome to the first installment of our very special 2024 Spooktacular Extravaganza. We're 3.5 Gentlemen, the podcast, where 3 of the 4 hosts provide a refined and intellectual analysis of movies from our private collections, while one of us tries desperately to keep up. We'll let you decide which host is which, but for now, my name is Sean, and with me, as always, if you say our names 3 times, are our hosts, Jeremiah.
I'm going to make you so happy.
Eddie.
The juice is loose.
The juice is loose. And Brandon.
That was good.
I believe it was Dostoevsky that said, "Later, fucker."
That was good.
That's a good one.
So cool.
So let me pick apart this strip and see if it's updated since the last Spooktacular last year. Even though we're taking the holiday break from our regular scheduled program with our special October episodes, we're continuing our structure of playing a loose version of 6 Degrees, where each host chooses their film based off the previous one, as long as the movie shares an actor, actress, composer, director, or writer.
As with every review we give, our goal is to answer one simple question: how many drinks does it take to get through the film that we just watched? At the end of the podcast, we'll rate the movie based on a scale of 0 to 5, 0 being a perfect film that you can watch stone cold sober, and 5 being sort of the film that makes you feel like you just lost your entire top half of your body and you're wandering aimlessly around the hallways of the afterlife.
With that said, Brandon, what movie do we have crossing over between the world of the living and the world of the dead this evening?
Well, tonight we're going to be talking about the long-awaited follow-up to the 1988 classic, which we reviewed last year, so go back and check it out. And of course, we're talking about the 2024's Beetlejuice. The sequel follows Lydia Dietz and her daughter Astrid, played respectively by Winona Ryder and Jenna Ortega. These two return to Lydia's childhood home after the death of her father. Lydia and Astrid, however, must overcome a new kind of evil with the help or hindrance of the one and only ghoul Beetlejuice, played by the always amazing Michael Keaton. Along with Ryder, Ortega, and Keaton, Beetlejuice Squared stars Catherine O'Hara, Justin Theroux, Monica Bellucci, and Willem Dafoe. At the time of
Beetlejuice Squared be Beetlejuice?
No. Technically, actually,
it is for Beetlejuice.
Actually, here's the funny thing. Mathematically, Beetlejuice Squared
that name right now, bro,
would actually just be Beetlejuice because you can't square 1. It would just become 1. So I screwed that one up. Look at this. Beetlejuice times 2.
Oh, my God.
Fuck me. God damn it. Anyway, at the time of recording, the film has earned an IMDb rating of 7.1 out of 10. It has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 77% with the critics and an audience score of 81%. Interesting.
Very interesting.
With every movie that we review, we try to pair our selection with a cocktail that we hope will enhance the viewing experience, which I think this movie is enhanced by any alcoholic consumption. So, Ed, why don't you tell us about the spine-tingling drink we're sipping this evening?
So we're going to be enjoying the hell out of this drink, the Beetlejuice Margarita, found on agratefulmeal.com. For this cocktail, you'll need to combine 1.5 ounces of Blanco or silver tequila, or just any good tequila, 1 ounce of blue curacao, 1/2 ounce of lime juice, and 1 ounce of pineapple juice to an ice-filled cocktail shaker. Shake it up and shake a bomba. Banana Boat Day song along. I don't know.
What?
Yeah. Shake it up as you dance to the Banana Boat Day song.
Shake, banana. Don't you know right?
That's the best song. Next, strain it into a cocktail glass with ice. Lastly, sip away while you watch the human exterminators and batshit crazy dead ex-wives.
Not to be confused with Deo, me say Deo, which is not the Banana Boat song, so I don't know where that came from.
I looked at it, and it's actually called that. That's actually the title of the song.
Anyway, all right. So let's start with the movie. I'm gonna give you kind of my going into the movie feelings. So I was not super excited about this movie coming out because I loved Michael Keaton's portrayal of Beetlejuice the first time. I thought it had some classic moments. I don't think that you could create lightning in a bottle twice. And really what my biggest problem is the first one didn't have that big of a storyline. It was very simple, right? So you had, people died, they stayed in the house, they learned they were dead, and then they tried to evict the living. Like, it was a very simple plot. And then I'm like, well, how are you going to do it? Are you going to do a new couple? Or are you going to do, so part of it was for me wondering how the hell he was going to do a sequel, get rid of Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis. So going into the movie, I didn't quite have my highest of hopes. Jeremiah, what did you think?
I was just hoping just to land something, I hate when they do sequels for movies that, you're like, you really don't really need to do it. But then we get on the train, you're like, okay, Michael Keaton says yes, let's do it. Winona Ryder says yes, okay. And you're like, oh, okay, it can fucking work. And then you go to the movie theaters. And then you have this hope, like, oh my God, I hope it's going to happen. You see the Geffen logo and you're like, oh shit, here we go. And then it starts. And then you're like, fuck.
Eddie, go.
That's where I was at.
So, I think I'm right alongside of both you. Like, I was excited. I was wanting more Michael Keaton if it's going to happen. Because Beetlejuice barely showed up in the first movie. And I was like, as long as we get more Beetlejuice and like the same vibe of him, I was excited for those reasons. But I was thinking the same thing. It's like, well, what type of story is it going to be? Like, how's this going to, how's it going to take off? Like, I was like really intrigued with like, well, how are we going to spin this off? Because it can't be Alec in there. Alec Baldwin and Gina's not going to be there. So I was excited because I'm a Jenna Ortega fan. And who doesn't like Batman, the original Batman? So,
Absolutely. 89 Batman.
Absolutely. Yeah. Rob, that.
I was hoping, I was like, fingers crossed, let's do this. And then I was like, what's all these other characters? What are we doing? I don't understand it.
Yes, Robin, come to the Batmobile.
And William Dafoe came out of nowhere. It's like, what is this, Two-Face? Is he here too? Two-Face is in this?
Holy Beetlejuice. Brandon, tell us what you think.
Yeah, so I think I come at it from a little bit different perspective than you guys did. And if you go back a year and think about Beetlejuice 1, I told you that I had never really liked Beetlejuice as a movie until I watched it again for the podcast, and I came away just appreciating the hell out of it. Still thinking that Beetlejuice as a character is not my favorite character, but I do love Michael Keaton. And so when this has been rumored for years, I mean, this movie has been rumored for how long? Like decades at this point. I mean, it's I would say
10 years, dude. Even decades.
90s even. I never gave a shit about that. I was always like, ooh, we don't need Beetlejuice 2 in our lives. And then after the last, or after we recorded and I watched it again, I said, ooh, I enjoy the hell out of Beetlejuice. I got really excited. Like, I think maybe on a scale of 1 to Jeremiah, I was close to a Jeremiah for excitement for this movie. And so, yeah, when I sat down in the theater, I was super excited. When I sat down in the theater by myself, and literally it was by myself, I was legitimately excited to see what we were going to have. Oh, it's so awkward when you're by yourself, but it's part of the experience.
I enjoy it. I embrace it. I'm like, I'm here. I'm a movie critic. Movie critic. I've been doing it here for my podcast. Thank you.
We need T-shirts then, because I want to wear the T-shirt when I'm watching the fucking movie podcast.
But, bro, you're not going to go as hardcore as Sean is. He's literally going to get his pad, and he's going to get his pencil, and he's going to get like a little light thing, and he's going to be like making sure like everyone looks at him like he's taking notes here. That must be a critic.
He has a podcast.
Producer? No, not producer.
Why is he reviewing this movie 8 weeks after it's open? I don't know.
First week of October, Sean.
3 weeks.
So
3 weeks.
Yeah, sorry. So let me just tell you, we're in real time, Brandon. It's okay. Let me just tell you, I think personally, you could have eliminated the first third of this movie, and it would have been a better movie. Because when you get rid of Catherine O'Hara's art installation, you get rid of the whole haunting part of that she can see ghosts, the teats, and the terrible character of Thoreau. What's his name?
Justin Thoreau.
Justin Thoreau. Just eliminate him completely. Like if you just focused, go back and just focus. Start with the funeral. I think the movie literally start with the Deo song. I think the movie would have been a better movie because of it.
Yep.
And then had flashbacks to his death and you could have integrated some of the fun stuff that happened. But truth be told, I did not need I did not need the where were they now kind of fill in backstory before they got to the house. The whole movie could have taken place at the house. I would have been a lot more happy because I think that was wasted film and it cheapened the characters, in my opinion.
So I'm going to jump in. And I hear what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying because to me, that wasn't where the wheels fell off. I thought actually it was nice to say, okay, hey, in the last 20 years, 25 years, whatever it's been, this is what happened to him. And do I like what they did with the characters? No, I think that Lydia Dietz was a completely destroyed character, not a wasted character, but a destroyed character. They took a fantastic character that everybody fell in love with in 1988 and basically said, we're going to like slough her off. And I know that it was in order to build up Jenna Ortega's character, but it screwed up. No, to me, what happened, and this is the hard thing, is I can't pinpoint what third of the movie was. To me, if I was going to say any one part was bad, it was the second third. But it's this idea of bringing this American Horror Story retelling of, I felt like I was watching Murder House from American Horror Story 1. With Evan Peters' character.
Oh, see, I love that. I love that.
I hated
part.
that.
I loved the big reveal. I loved the.
Really?
I loved the. Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
Well, because you had this kind of this, but yet it was the same reveal as number one, where Lydia could see Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis. Now you have kind of the younger kid, you have Jenna Ortega run into the tree, see the boy, and then all of a sudden you have that reveal that he's dead. I thought that. I thought it was good. I thought the negative part was the fact that he murdered his father and mother.
No, that's what I'm talking about. No. I think it's great that she could see ghosts.
That's the American Horror Story right there that he's talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, because you didn't really have to make him be a serial killer.
No. It was completely pointless.
The problem I had with the movie was that there was all these new characters that were added to the film that was unnecessary, man.
Yes.
Like
Monica Bellucci.
Yeah, Dolores, that character was useless.
Yeah.
It was a waste of time and space. Was it fun to get a background about Beetlejuice's, what became Beetlejuice and everything? Yeah, it was kind of cute, kind of funny. Yeah. I mean, it was just like so many different storylines.
Yes.
That it got all sloppy. You had a potential to do a really cool, fantastic sequel. But the thing was, for me, that it lacked the creativity that the first one actually presented. And also, it just felt like Looney Tunes, like it was over the top. The first one, when you guys think about it, even though it was fun and campy, it had a serious tone that was relatable, and that was missing throughout the whole film of the sequel.
Jeremy, I agree with you with this weird cartoon vibe. Like, you got this idea of, it was, very... I don't know. I like the idea of Beetlejuice was always cool to understand. Like, you always could understand how people died, just no backstory of the person. You just kind of knew, okay, that's how that person died. That's how that person died. That's how that person died. Oh, that was our football team, and they died that way. Yeah. So part one was always that way. So it was cool. They've always had that understanding of you knew how people died. Mm-hmm. But then you have Bellucci and Defoe. That was unnecessary characters that you were just they were just cramming people in, and it was all over the place. It was just I was lost at times.
Mm-hmm. See, I thought that it was kind of interesting. What they did is they retconned Beetlejuice to be a good guy instead of a bad guy, and I think that is kind of where you're not liking what they did. But what I did like about the character is that what I did like about the change, let's say, is that they gave Beetlejuice a purpose other than the one purpose that they couldn't give him again. They couldn't. He is a poltergeist. He goes into houses and gets rid of the living. If that is the whole premise of the first movie, and you literally can't use that premise again, it's over. So what do you do with him? You make him more legit, and then you give him purpose to save the day.
There is a tasteful way to do that, which they did not do that in this movie. The Wolf Jackson character, you're just okay, waste. It's a waste of space. I love Willem Dafoe. I love
Christopher Walken. He's up there. Willem Dafoe's with Christopher Walken.
And it was just painful to see him just be useless on a screen.
I agree with that. I thought actually Danny DeVito was really funny though. I thought that whole opening scene was funny. I didn't mind the bride aspect of Beetlejuice's bride coming back to haunt him. I thought that was kind of cool. I can't believe I'm the one defending this movie. That's just funny.
I think you're shocked.
Because I'm not necessarily a fan, but I think that if you're looking at the structure of the movie got progressively better as it went on, and it found its legs. Even if you didn't like the storyline, it coalesced into a pretty good story there. No.
I would tell you, Sean, that the second half is way better than the first half. Absolutely. I totally agree with you that once the whole murder house thing, where like you find out that that's a ghost, I'm like, okay, that's an interesting way to put it. But then it got kind of like, again, American Horror Stories, and it kind of felt like Wednesday. I'm like, what is this? You know, I love Sigur Rós to death, but to put that song for there, it just didn't feel like something from Tim Burton or something from Danny Elfman, and it didn't have that original vibe to it.
So, sold out.
I agree.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this movie and I'm hearing us talk, and all I can think about is that as they're making the movie, right? And Tim Burton, he was part of the writing, but he wasn't the writer, and he rarely does do writing. He's just, he's influential with the storyline, but not the actual script itself.
But Alfred Doe and Miles Miller are really good.
Oh yeah, no, they are. But here's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, they're the ones that created Wednesday.
Movie. Yeah, well, that's the problem. Okay, so what I'm thinking is the problem is but here's the problem is that they just took basically the rap sheet of what zeitgeisty thing they want to throw in, what Tim Burton thing. I mean, it's like almost they were like checking off boxes, right? It's like, ooh, animated sequence, check that off because that happened in Beetlejuice 1. This American Horror Story, seems like the good guy, but he's really the bad guy who's uber bad. Oh, check that off the box. Then we've got Wednesday, and we're checking that off the box. And to me, it just felt like it was really, in a weird way, like a scripted script. I know that sounds stupid, but it's like they're just trying to check boxes instead of actually tell a story.
So it was trying to hit this day in the audience.
It was trying not to let people down. And here's the reality of the script that I don't think came through. I think if you strip away all the stupidity of trying to make it a Beetlejuice movie and just make it a movie, and you focus on the fact that Winona Ryder couldn't see her ex-husband, who I would have made her be in love with, not have broken up with. Why couldn't she see Dad? Why couldn't she see Dad?
Oh, exactly.
Have Jenna Ortega searching, get rid of the boy, get rid of the tree, get rid of that whole storyline, get rid of Willem Dafoe's character, and have Jenna Ortega find her way into the underworld with Beetlejuice and go find her dad.
Yeah.
That's a story. That's a fucking heartfelt, amazing story.
Beetlejuice should also reclaim his, like, hey, this is what you need to do to pass. I don't know.
Right. It would have been the same concept. It would have been, it would have worked well to me. It would have worked. It would have worked well.
Even like when I was watching this with Hannah, and Hannah seriously called that out, like the very first moment that boy was there on the tree. So like, oh, I bet you that boy's dead. I'm like, no way. He's there. So I'm like, oh, he is dead. But the thing that I thought is that when Jenna Ortega's character, it crashes through the fence and like kind of like,
do you think she died?
Quote unquote dies.
Yeah, I actually thought she died.
I did too.
I thought, she's going to die in this movie or something too. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, cool. That's a cool thought because, the mom's going to have to go into the afterworld and try to save,
and
her
grandma
daughter.
Saves her, and grandma sacrifices herself to save. Yeah, I mean, there's to be with her husband. All of that would have been better. This is the thing. This is the problem: is the bones were there for sacrifice, for loss, for emotional catharsis, and you still could have had Michael Keaton be wonderful because Michael Keaton was wonderful.
Michael Keaton was amazing. He was Beetlejuice. Like Keaton, I believed it.
That character he's made to play that character. Yep. He was just as iconic as the first time. It's like they just literally put makeup on the old guy and it worked. It was perfect.
He didn't miss a beat. He did not miss a beat. No, I mean he killed it and knocked it out of the park. And that is the best thing about the sequel is the joy to see Michael Keaton just own it, dude. It's so badass. It's so good.
And here's where I think that sequels and these ideas that people are writing for these characters are failing left, right, and center. This is why I think Star Wars failed when they brought back all their characters. I mean, name the franchise that has been quote unquote retcon, rebooted, retrofitted, whatever you want to call it. There's very few that have taken this idea of complete and utter sacrifice for the new generation, and that's what you need. You need to. Star Trek did it beautifully, and that's one of the problems. But they didn't kill anyone, which they probably should have. What I'm saying is you need to be willing to kill characters, not just to kill them. You need to kill them or to create a situation where they're in peril that means something, that it is consistent with their character. Having Grandma go down, I could have imagined this beautiful scene between Catherine O'Hara, who's one of the greatest actresses of our time, and Jenna Ortega, which they had no screen time together. And she could have said, "Oh, little one, it's my time to be here. You go back with your mom and, have the relationship that we've developed. Look at what we've done in the interim since, we were in this house."
I would see that
something
movie.
like that. Like that would have been just so.
Winona Ryder and the mom finally have that moment together. Like, listen, I know I'm your stepmother. I know that we haven't seen eye to eye, but you live on. You live. I'll be here. This is my time.
And I get to be with your father. Like, I mean,
exactly.
It would have been perfect. It would have been a perfect. Instead, you had it's almost like they took the characters and made them silly.
I want to talk about one thing in a minute, which is the Soul Train, which to me was one of the it was just stupid. And I know that you guys are probably going to be like, no, it was cute and fun. I thought it was literally the dumbest thing. I thought it was the dumbest thing. I hated it so much. But I do want to talk about something. And, I'm terrified of mentioning this to one of our fellow people, Jeremiah. And that is the fact that I'm watching this movie. And I'm feeling like Winona Ryder, and I loved, Edward Scissorhands Winona Ryder. I loved early 90s Winona Ryder, and I feel like has kind of fallen. And now when I see her on screen, she doesn't captivate the screen like she once did. And I mean, with this, she was absolutely upstaged by Jenna Ortega, who I know is kind of, touted as the new Winona Ryder, but man, it was really sad for me to watch Winona Ryder and her character be just completely shuffled off.
In the first one, she's fearless. She's strong. Yeah. She's, but she's also vulnerable. This one just feels like she's just, I don't know. She just feels like she's just not the same person that I thought we would grow.
Be a neurotic
character that would grow from this one,
right?
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, they messed up there. They messed up.
Feel right.
And if she is neurotic, she should have seen horrors. That's my problem.
Yeah.
If you're gonna make a character dependent on drugs to get through the day, which basically they portrayed her at the very beginning, you have to give her a reason. And the fact that Beetlejuice showed up when she was a kid is not sufficient. She's got to see gruesome, grotesque, terrible things, horrible things that throughout her life that have plagued her. Yeah. And that didn't happen. I think that the character development for her is disingenuous. I thought the character development for Moira Rose, what's her name? Catherine O'Hara was probably the least. Yeah, I thought she was the least harmed character, but then they wasted her. They just kind of wasted her character away, and she could have been the heart. Yeah. She could have been the heart of the movie. And my problem is, once again, I don't mean to be this person, but you got to pick a heartbeat, and it can't always be Jenna Ortega, because Jenna Ortega, to me, in this movie, could have been replaced by X or Y or Z. I don't think she was magnificent. And to answer your question about Winona Ryder, I don't agree. I think she could come out with a performance that'll shock you, and I don't agree. I think in Stranger Things, in the first season, when Will Byers died, holy shit.
Yeah, I was going to say that. No,
she was magnificent. I mean, she was the reason I watched that show, because it was so real. She was visceral.
No, I mean, I was going to say exactly that, what you're saying right there. I mean, obviously, they throw away everything good at the end of Beetlejuice 1 with Ryder's character, right? With Lydia, because she ended it with still having this relationship with Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin of, okay, let's see your test scores and let's see how you do. And then she had this relationship with her parents. They threw all that away, and now she's just like completely different character. And it's like, okay, well, and I don't think there's enough reason why to know. So it's personally, I feel like they had a map of keep her the same character as Stranger Things. That would have been fine. You just play, hey, be Stranger Things in this movie, and you'll be okay. This is what we want you to be in this movie. Instead, they went way left field, I felt like, with her.
And not to rewrite the script, because you know how I like to do that, but make the Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin leaving her unprotected. They were protecting her inadvertently for all those years. And when they left, she became a lightning rod for all the dead people. And all of a sudden, what she couldn't see before, now she was inundated with, and she couldn't handle it. Yeah. Give her a little soliloquy, a monologue of how hard she's had it, not just from losing her husband, but from being able to commune with the other side. Don't make it a farce. And that's my problem with what they did with that stupid fucking character of Thoreau. He was awful.
I like him in Leftovers.
The Leftovers. Oh.
That is the depressing show, bro.
Amazing.
Oh my god,
he hurts me in my heart. He was really put it in a pocket. Oh Jesus, it's such a good show. The problem is, you know what? I'm gonna say something that really hurts, and it really really hurts me because you guys already know my thoughts on Tim Burton. I think that Tim Burton is an absolute gem and is a needed counter to so many of the things that we get in Hollywood as far as kind of playing by the rules. He loves to play not by the rules. And this is one of the problems is this is a movie that seemed to be just, again, checking the boxes of the rules. But I felt like the direction in the movie was just off. I think the story sucked. I thought that the writing was not good, but I really feel like the direction, the Tim Burton's actual direction of the characters that he created back in the 80s, that to me is where the wheels really fell off. And Sean, to echo what you just said and what you say basically every single fucking week, this movie just doesn't know what it wants to be to its audience. And I think that really is really true. And I do blame Tim Burton on that. And I hate blaming him because I love the guy so much.
Well, it's the same thing I said with Hocus Pocus 2. You have 25 fucking years, excuse my language, we have 25 years, however many years it's been since this movie, to write a sequel. Yeah. You have 30 years to ruminate over the emotional catharsis that is Beetlejuice, and you don't do it.
Yeah.
You don't. No. Hey, by the way, if you can't do it, don't produce it. Like, don't just force this shit out there. If you can't come up with something clever, move on.
The thing is that there are little nuggets here that are just like, that has that Tim Burton vibe. I was glad that they were able to use some of the same practical effects from the original. You see how many people died and throughout the afterlife, waiting in the afterlife. And you're like, oh, that's kind of funny. That guy choked because he was on the hot dog contest, or that person, Houdini died. It's clever,
he was in the glass. Oh, that was funny.
I feel like they walked away from the original concept of like what the story and the heart, what made Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
And let's not pretend the first one was super emotionally cathartic. It wasn't. You didn't really have that deep of a plot. Now, I will say, the William Dafoe character,
I think he did,
was an attempt to replace that one woman who was in the first one who was so good, and it wasn't Eileen Stetch or whatever her name is, but it was, reminded me of that one. Yeah,
that was
and even Justin Thorax or whatever, Rory, the character, that's Otho pretty much, from the original one.
But I keep going back to the same thing. If you have the brilliant Michael Keaton and the brilliant Catherine O'Hara in a movie, you don't need any more comedy. They can do it. They can, any comedy that you want, they can produce.
You don't need any more characters.
You
don't need any more characters.
Even Ryder could throw a joke in there, and you have Ortega. Like, you have enough there.
It's fine. Oh, yeah. Eugene Levy is one of the funniest people I've ever seen on screen. Every time he's on the screen with Catherine O'Hara is a star. Learn something from the way Eugene Levy interacts with Catherine O'Hara.
Eugene Levy should have been in this movie. Come on.
Eugene Levy would have been one. Oh, God. Don't get me started. Anyway.
So, no,
I'm sorry. I don't mean to rewrite. I don't mean to sit here and rewrite movies because that's not right. It's not what our podcast does. But if I can come up with a story, if we here, all four of us can sit here and come up with a better story, then there was a better story to be had. I'm sorry. That's the truth.
Sean, I don't think that you're right, because I think that is kind of what we're doing here. Is our job here on this podcast, if we're going to stay at a job, or what we try to do is to try to point out what works and what doesn't work in a movie. So in that way, it is kind of to rewrite, or at least to bring to light the things that don't quite work. My problem with this is that they simply they took the concept of what worked with one, and I'm gonna probably piss you guys off a little bit, but for me, what worked with one is the fact that Beetlejuice, even though it's his movie, right? His name is on the box. he's a sideline character for most of the movie, if not the majority of almost all that movie. He's kind of there, and it's not spotlight on him. The focus is on, the couple. And Jeremiah, I'd agree. I think that it is kind of emotionally deep because we get this kind of moving story of this couple coming to kind of a crisis and then moving through it. Okay. The problem for me is that, yes, Michael Keaton is absolutely wonderful, amazing, a masterpiece of acting. Absolutely. But the problem is they may put him too front and center in this movie. And I feel like his character is not one to be put front and center. I think that if we had more focus, like we've been talking about, Sean, and you've kind of been rewriting, we put more focus on Lydia Dietz. We put more focus on Moira Rose. We put more focus on Wednesday Addams, right? We put more focus on these characters, and we allow Beetlejuice to be on the peripheral. I think that he'll have so much more of an impact on the movie. And I feel like that's where it missed, is that they almost tried to change the lens focus. And I don't think that a sequel should just be the first one again. I never think that. But I do think that there are some major issues with this. And one of it is literally where are we pointing the camera? What focus are we putting it on? And I think that Beetlejuice was actually just too front and center.
I'll give you a perfect example of that done well. Okay.
Well said.
The X-Men franchise, the First Class franchise, they used Pietro Maximoff perfectly. They brought him into stories. They gave him a couple of scenes that were very memorable, very good. They brought him out and they put him away. They didn't make him front and center until the very end of that franchise. And as soon as they did that, he lost his charm. He lost he lost who he was as a character. Absolutely. And I think that Michael Keaton held the movie together. And I don't necessarily think it was too much Michael Keaton, but I do think that it was too much focus on Michael Keaton. And I think that's the difference. His minutes were not bad. The amount of time used in the movie was not bad. The story focus was bad. Yes. It should have been more on the family, less on Michael Keaton.
I will add to that because when his scenes were on, I was happy to watch his scenes. Don't get me wrong, when he's being the therapist, when they first actually go into
I'm sorry.
Around the world.
The model homes. And that scene was just, oh God, that was just like, or even when he's doing his, which I didn't like the scene, but even when he's doing like his background story, but he's doing it in a different accent, and he's doing like in this whole like
I thought that
Italian
was
thing.
Funny.
That was funny shit. And then even the last part, the wedding scene, which I think they were just trying to like do the whole Deo type of like, comparison of the dancing and stuff. I thought that was nice with the whole MacArthur Park song, I thought that was really good. I'm like, okay, cool. But then the characters come in and all these other characters come in. You're just like, oh, didn't it get sloppy? And I'm sorry, the whole like baby Beetlejuice, I was just like,
I did not like baby
Come
Beetlejuice,
on,
Sean.
dude. You're just like,
I thought okay. So let me just put it this way: for the hour and however many minutes this movie was, the 43 seconds of baby Beetlejuice had very little impact on my life. I thought it was clever and funny, and it was like just enough.
Hour 45 minutes. Hour 45.
Hour 45 minutes. The one singular total screen time minute that baby got, I thought was, it was unoffensive and not the worst part of the movie.
Spoiler alert. No, what did you think at the end of the movie when you're just like,
no, that's what I thought it was the best. I thought,
really? I was just like, I'm watching this like, I'm like, watch, like a baby Beetlejuice is going to come out. I'm like, fuck, I just saw that.
So where is this supposed to be at? Where is it supposed to take place? I always forget. Like
Vermont.
It's supposed to be. I feel like it's Vermont.
It is.
It's like New England. It's like New England.
It looks Vermont though, right? The trees and everything. Always the
very
entrance scene.
I'm not gonna lie. When we go and see Brandon, this is exactly what I want to see. This is exactly where we're supposed to be staying.
Take you to.
It's better. It's better. Just so you know.
I think when I think of Beetlejuice, I'm like, Brandon should be living. I think Brandon lives there. We should go and see Brandon.
Brandon is like down the street, right? And then the other one, if I go see Sean, like I expect him to be like next door to like Fort.
I'm not in Washington, but it's okay.
I expect it.
I don't know if they're going to do Beetlejuice. I don't know if they're going to do a third one or anything like that, but that ending, that whole Carrie ending, which I'm going to say the whole like dream of the ending of a dream and everything like that, because that's straight out of Carrie, by the way. Was this actually a dream all along? Are we in our head? Did anything happen? I mean, what happened? at the end of the movie. What do you think?
Did I miss something? Because I thought it was just we got to see the characters kind of progress, and we got the idea that they were going to be fine. And then they had like a funny dream sequence. Am I supposed to read something differently into that?
No, I think what we get is this idea that that they can't get away from this experience, and they can't get away from Beetlejuice. I think that Beetlejuice is going to be a constant in these people's lives, whether he's a physical presence, or just kind of in the memory. I don't think it was like a Bob Newhart. It was all a dream, and everybody just wakes up at the end, and oh my God, we're now back in 1989. Or 2017. I think that what we get here is just this reality that, two things. One, for story purposes, it's just that these characters can't escape what happened to them. Two, they wanted to give us one last little like sight gag. I think that's really what it comes down to.
How cool would that be, actually? And I like the thought of it, like, that Beetlejuice is actually haunting Lydia after all these years and everything like that. And maybe none of this ever happened, but, she's pretty much like, scared and scarred from Beetlejuice. And I thought, okay, shit, I didn't expect to see that part.
I'm sorry. I could have written a better script than this, because I would have started in a insane asylum with Lydia and Beetlejuice having a conversation. And then she blinks and Beetlejuice is gone.
And her constantly saying it. Like just yelling it out loud, right?
And writing on the wall, like home. Beetlejuice, home.
Oh,
like seriously,
gosh.
like I mean, yeah.
All right,
yeah.
Last question.
Amazing.
I think we actually asked this question in the podcast in our old episodes when we did Tim Burton. But what is your favorite Tim Burton film? Let's do actually a update version of what is your favorite Tim Burton film moving forward, because guess what, folks, we might have a new Tim Burton film that we have to do next week. Actually,
we're going to go to me because so listen, I'm not going to tell you what one of my favorite Tim Burton movies is, because we might be hearing about that a little bit later in this episode next week, because I get to have first next choice of where we go with this holiday spooktacular. That being said, the true OG, whether Sean wants to open his eyes and accept it into his heart or not, the true OG, the one and only Edward Scissorhands. I mean, that movie is absolute perfection. I don't think that you get a movie that is so full of magic and hope and wonder and sadness and just
heart and emotion.
I can still, and I will forever be able to close my eyes and see Winona Ryder back in her true dancing in the snow. My God, that is absolute perfection, and I want that feeling. And instead, what I got with Beetlejuice 2 is a feeling of just complete and utter sadness and disappointment. So, with that, I'm going to kick it over to Eddie. What's yours?
Me?
Yeah.
Big Fish.
Yeah. Ooh.
Mr. Big Fish.
We should record that.
I remember I never watched that movie.
We should record that one.
I've never watched that movie, and after seeing all these, because Tim Burton's a certain style, right? We can all agree he's a style for sure. Like he has his own style, 100%. But all his movies are very similar, and I want to say Big Fish. What took me by surprise, completely by surprise. So
I'm going to be a little controversial. So, as far as technicality is concerned, I think Planet of the Apes was pretty fucking good. So, I think the story of Planet of the Apes was bad and the ending was bad, but the technology he got and the performances that he got from that movie, from Tim Roth and from Bellatrix Lestrange and from Charlton Heston, from Planet of the Apes, through that makeup, he got some magnificent performances, and it was such a departure from the 1970s Planet of the Apes. It doesn't hold a candle to the new Planet of the Apes movies, which are magnificent, by the way. If anyone has not seen those, you need to watch all of them. They are some of the best movies you'll watch in the 2010s, and some of the best movies out there. But I'm going to go, Planet of the Apes, 1990, what is it, 94, 97? 2001. 2001.
Man.
JP, what about you?
Yeah, Sean, I would have bet like $1 million that you were going to say Mars Attack.
I accidentally almost said Addams Family, and then I realized, wait, he didn't direct that movie.
No. He did Wednesday.
Barry Sonnenfeld.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you guys may not like this movie, but I think this is his classic, and I think it's one of the best movies, and it's still one of my favorite movies to this day from Tim Burton. Ed Wood. It is
Oh yeah,
beautifully directed. It is so funny. You know, he's a Hollywood director. He's going to make his movie. You know, you just root for this guy for the whole time. In the chemistry between Johnny Depp and Martin Landau, it's absolutely one of the best movies I think he's ever done. So that's one of my favorite ones out there.
It's a good call.
A question, Sean. Would you buy this house? I could see you owning that house.
I can see Beetlejuice house.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
His house looks like Beetlejuice. What are you talking about? He already lives there in the house.
I was just going to say, Sean has a house that looks pretty close to this for some reason. I don't know why.
Sean, what you need to do, Sean, is actually have a veil under your house, like on top of your house. So when we actually go to the Halloween party and stuff like that.
That'd be fucking awesome.
Cool
that'd be awesome.
Sean,
be
incredible.
incredible.
Halloween party next year. This year's already done.
Beetlejuice.
That's a Halloween party. I know. And we'll have Brandon come out of nowhere. He'll come
on the Soul Train.
I'll be in without a head.
Then he can dance all the way over there.
Sean won't even know that I'm there until 2 hours in.
My favorite, I will say, I missed a line like as iconic as when Beetlejuice says like. Something about I watched The Exorcist 97 times, and it gets better every time I watch it.
All the quotes for Michael Keaton is just like
just great.
They always hit. They're great.
Oh, dude, he's good. He's good, man. Brandon's line was pretty classic. I was like, that's what I'm talking about, fucker. That brings us to the end of the review. Now it's time of the podcast where each of the hosts provides his score on the following scale. Bob, no, I'm sorry. Hosts with the most.
I was just about to say that. Really more like nightmare material. All right, guys. 0, the perfect movie. You don't need shit to enjoy it. 1, a feel-good first cocktail. 2, a happy buzz. 3, you're Ubering or lifting home. 4, rough morning walk of shame. 5, blackout, shit-faced, spring break drunk. All right, gentlemen. Write down your scores so we can share or type them in. That sounds like Bob.
Poor Bob. We got soul sucked, man, by a Dementor.
That whole I'm sorry. I'm not saying Hollywood needs to come to me before they produce something, but they should really come to me before they produce something.
Hollywood should listen to our podcast and actually take notes.
Should.
Yeah,
take some
great
notes
ideas,
because
bro. It's the fan. We're definitely
nobody. Hollywood. We're just kidding. Stop.
We're like the Michael Straw Company. I have numerous names of podcast names.
I have numerous names. I don't care that I'm failing. I just have to hold on long enough for your board meeting. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Hot.
Oh, Brandon, that's harsh. Brandon, that's awful.
No,
that is pretty hardcore. My goodness gracious,
it is felt.
Wow,
Brandon,
you want to change it?
Let's Brandon go first.
I really don't.
That's aggressive.
It's
aggressive. I like it. Host.
I'm really curious to hear what he's going to say here, folks.
I know because that was really bad for as much as fun as we had talking about this movie.
Oh, it was fun.
Was pretty. No, that was like to all the boys I loved before.
Because abstract movie that we just watched. All over the fucking place.
So here's I actually had this talk with somebody. So it was actually today. And there are certain movies that are just so bad that they're fun and funny, and this to me was a misfire in absolutely every single realm. I'm not going to say it's the worst film that I've ever seen and that it shouldn't have ever been made, because last time I made a quip like that, Sean went silent for 45 minutes. So instead, what I'm going to say is this. On a personal level, I felt like this was...
That's because you picked a movie off the AFI Top 100 list, jackass.
No, I did not. It was not actually Jackass. That mistake happens a lot. It's not the movie Jackass that I was talking about. It was actually Young Frankenstein, which it must just be a Halloween thing, because Halloween movie, I got attacked for that one. Sean, Young Frankenstein, got attacked for that one. I'm going to go ahead and get attacked for this one, I feel like.
What do you mean you get attacked for Halloween?
Whoa. Easy there, Mr. Ring. Ring's fine. Edward Scissorhands fine. Scream 5 is fine. Scream 6 is fine. Come on.
Every Halloween you did not get attacked. You did not get attacked for Halloween. You were attacked
there's something
Halloween.
that comes up, and it's always me being too hard on something. So this is my 2024 pick of being too hard on.
Maybe you just have bad taste? Maybe you just have bad taste.
I think that all the time.
No, he likes no guys. He likes Hocus Pocus too.
That's
You
true.
like Hocus
I
Pocus
think
2?
it's serious. I liked Hocus Pocus 2 better than Hocus Pocus 1. So here's
Oh, that's right.
here's the deal. And this is the thing. When you feel like you found something late in life and you feel like, where has this been all my life? Where's this been all of my Halloween movie watching? Where has this been kind of as a movie to sit back on and watch every year and enjoy? That's how I felt with Beetlejuice. I felt like I found this little kind of nugget of greatness and discovery in Beetlejuice 1 last year when we did it. I wasn't expecting to like it, and I ended up loving it. And so and I remember what I said at the beginning, when I heard that Beetlejuice 2 was an actual thing, and it was after we had done Beetlejuice 1 here, I literally was like putting it on the calendar of when this movie comes out, because I can't wait to go see it. And I'm going to be just completely enraptured in this world, in this, in this character, in these characters. And so when I sat down by myself in that theater, I literally was like antsy, like a little kid about to see his first movie. It was kind of almost to that level. And that's not really that much of an exaggeration. It really isn't. So when you get something and you're so excited about it, okay, and this is complete my emotions pulling into it and not necessarily thinking logically. I'll be the first one to admit that, Sean. This was such a letdown. This was such a departure from everything that I was hoping to see, that I mean, granted, I can't think of a whole lot of anything positive going on the screen. Yes, I can say that Michael Keaton's performance was great, but at the same time, when you have a great performance in a movie that is just swimming in its own confusion and kind of muck, it just kind of gets tainted with the same bad taste. And so, yeah, I think that I was a little bit hard on what I showed, but at the same time, I do think that this is a movie that could have been and wouldn't. And yeah, we had a great time talking about it, but I guarantee if we go back and listen to this, 99.12% of what we talked about was laughing about what they could have done, right? Instead of what they actually did. And so for me, this is a failure in absolutely every way. I can smile through it because one of the reasons we all didn't like things about it together. That was nice. You know, if poor Eddie just absolutely loved this and thought that it was the greatest movie ever, then the vibe would be different. I'd be feeling worse about the score I gave.
No,
but
that's like how you felt with The Ring.
Yeah, that. So listen,
sorry.
I am rough morning this shit. I have a hangover for about 3 weeks. In fact, I want to have a hangover for about 3 weeks because then I could maybe drink the memory of sitting in front of this movie. I actually checked my phone, which I don't do in theaters. Like I checked the time and I was like, fuck, I still have another 52 minutes of this movie. I hate this. I don't want to be here. I wish that I could walk out. I can't, and I won't ever walk out on a movie, but I can rate this a 4. I'm going to be nicer. I'm going to retcon it a little bit because I think that you're right. It was a fun experience. I'm going to give it a 4.4. I'm going to give it a 4.4. I think that this was a terrible movie. I will never watch it again. Similar to the 50 Shades movies, I think that this is just a movie that is missed on every single level, but it is fun to talk about because when you talk about it, you can't help but trash it. And so with that being said, Sean, I'm going to head it over to you, buddy.
No, Eddie's going to go next.
Thank you.
Go next.
Oh, I didn't want to go to
you. Let's pass it over to host. We'll pass it over to host. Okay, you're super long. I'll be quicker. Actually, Brandon, I agree with a lot of your things that you were saying. Like it was something that I was like so excited to see. I think you have two different generations that's appreciate. You know, you have people that are wanting how Beetlejuice won. Like let's see a little bit of that, and then you have another generation here that they're thinking that this movie is better than Beetlejuice 1, which pisses me off when I hear that on social media. I'm like, whoa. Let's like, and that's just
okay, boomer.
That's just like, okay, well, you obviously.
It's like people saying that's like people saying Hocus Pocus 2 is good.
Yeah, so I've never felt like a boomer my whole life because I'm like I protect my Beetlejuice movie so dearly now in my heart after seeing this movie. It's like, you guys stay away from Beetlejuice. This is not better than Beetlejuice. How dare you?
Get your grubby hands off Beetlejuice.
Yeah. It's like, but I mean, I enjoy parts of this movie, and like Brian was saying, like there was so many things I would have done this different, would have done that different. I do like the town. I like the costumes. I liked certain parts of it. Like it felt like I was still in the movie of Beetlejuice. It was just like the story went way off and added all these random characters that I just didn't care for. And you know, it's a movie that honestly, I was really upset about spending money to watch afterwards. Yes. I was just like, that's how I felt, right? It was just like, God, I actually had to spend money for this. And I was like, I could have waited until it got to, Matt's, HBO Max. Netflix. I would have been happy. I was like, okay, I saved $15. And that's honestly how I feel. Like it wasn't like it didn't hit home. I would have been happier spending $15 to watch Beetlejuice, the original. So, I mean, that's where it is. I mean, yeah, there's funny jokes. There's the costume's amazing. Michael Keaton hits for me. He's probably the best part about this movie. Ortega, she shined in her own way. Catherine O'Hara, she's amazing. But there's, areas that they definitely missed. I don't think we're far off. I feel like a lot of people are feeling this way with this movie. For how long you waited, you definitely missed the mark. So I give this a 3.2. You're doing the Uber lifting home with a tall can with that. Let's go with JP.
Yeah, listeners, this movie really broke my heart because I'm a huge fan of the original one. I think it's just a treasure of a film. And believe me when I say this movie had the potential to be a really fantastic sequel. The problem is it just lacked the creativity that the first one had, It just went over the top. It was mostly silly shit after silly shit that didn't do anything for the story. And again, the original, even though they had fun and campy stuff to it, there was a serious tone that everyone could relate, about the appreciation of living and actually finding yourself and being connected with that. This one didn't have anything to it, man. The only thing that worked in the film for me was Michael Keaton. 35 years later, he doesn't miss a fucking beat and kills it as Beetlejuice. It was nothing but joy just to watch him on the screen. And I also enjoyed watching Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara, and Jenna Ortega. I liked the characters they were doing. I just wish it was just something different. It was just not what I expected. And maybe that's my problem. Maybe I had too much high expectation for this movie, and maybe later on down the road that I might see it in a different light. But it just didn't do anything for me what I thought it was going to be and what the potential could have been. Totally just was not on the same path, man. It just had unnecessary stories, too many stories, characters that were added to it that just didn't make sense to it, it didn't felt like Beetlejuice, man. So I couldn't give this a rough morning walk of shame, but fuck, man, it's very close, man. I am Ubering home, but seriously, I'm barely getting myself out of the car. 3.98, dude. I'm stumbling home. This is a 3.98. It's not a 4. I couldn't do a 4. I just couldn't fucking do it, man.
3.98?
A 3.98.
Shit, man.
Yeah.
No, don't appreciate me.
No, I'll finish up, and I'll tell you why I can't do a 4 either. And it's because Michael Keaton was magnificent. And Michael Keaton was Beetlejuice. He turned in a performance that was equal to that of the original. He was enjoyable, and for that, you can't destroy an entire movie when there's something so brilliant in it. And there is shoots of brilliance in this movie. It just didn't quite hit the way we wanted it to. The storyline was terrible. The characters were underutilized because they brought in these stupid new characters that were just. The sin of Thoreau in this movie just really irks my goat. Because the guy who played Otho was a fucking classic. When he goes and digs pills out of the trash, the first 5 seconds of the movie, I'm like, oh, this guy's going to be a bad. I hope he's only in it for the New York section. Like, horrible. Fucking horrible. I'm a little bit more lenient on this movie, but not by much because of, I thought that it did progress into the second half better than the first half. Was it, magnificent? No, but it definitely got better. And I think that it found its feet, and I think that it kind of had some inklings of huge sacrifice. And, the way Catherine O'Hara died was stupid. And the fact that, I'm sorry. It's a 3.5. It's a fucking train wreck. It's shit. It's terrible. It's a 3.5.
You're trying to find something. You're like,
I know.
It's 3.5.
You're Uber lifting home with a fucking half a cocktail still in your roadie, and you're puking on the way.
Beers, dude. Beers.
God dang it!
You're trying to find something else good to say. You're like, fuck it, 3.5.
If Michael Keaton isn't just magnificent, so I give it a 3.5 only because of Michael Keaton. Can't give it that 4. Can't get up there. Can't do it.
my gosh.
But I respect all those who could. And, one word that comes to mind about this movie and why I think Hollywood is failing over and over again is courage. People need to have courage against the mob, courage against the studios. There was a time when George Lucas self-produced a fucking Star Wars movie because he couldn't stand the studio. And look what we get. We got an epic opus of magnificence. Everyone's making fun of Megalopolis, but Francis Ford Coppola said, "Fuck you, everyone! I'm making this movie." I'm sorry. Where is that courage?
You guys, we had that guy. That was Tim Burton in the 80s, man.
I feel like the only person who takes risks these days is like Oliver Stone takes risks, and that's just because he hates everyone.
Christopher Nolan takes risks every movie.
Eddie, when you combine the scores and divide by 4, what does Beetlejuice get a rating of?
I was surprised that I gave my score. I thought it was going to be one of the highest, and it was actually the lowest. This is something that's probably too high, and but it gives us a 3.77. A 3.77. I'm going to say this is towards the bottom of the list, though.
It should be lower. It should be lower.
You're Ubering or lifting home. This is Ubering or lifting home, and it's very close to a rough morning watch of shame.
So Eddie, what number do you think it is?
3.77. I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess this is towards 84.
No, I was going to say 72.
84 movies?
72.
I'm going to say 68.
I'm just saying 84.
84, 70 what?
72.
2.
I kind of lost track of how many movies we've done, though, I'm not going to lie.
Well, Eddie was the closest out of all you three. It is number 92 on our list.
Should be.
So what is better than Beetlejuice?
Anything.
Superman, Avatar, The Big Lebowski, Point Break, Halloween.
Fuck yeah.
All those movies are better than Beetlejuice. I'm sorry. What's worse than Beetlejuice?
Friday the 13th, the 1980 version.
No.
Yep.
That was
trash.
I'm just kidding.
I don't even know. Jason was in that movie.
I take it back. I love A Nightmare on Elm Street. I fucking hate Friday the 13th. So continue.
Jason wasn't even in that movie on Friday the 13th. Keep going.
Yeah.
The Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
Hocus Pocus 2. And our worst movie on our list, 50 Shades of Grey.
Yep.
I mean,
I put that there.
Honestly,
it's exactly where it should be, guys. With my 4.4.
Oh, the system works.
It does work.
Yeah, I feel like I rated a good spot for it to come out to be 3.77.
Yeah, good job.
I thought I was going to be the worst. I didn't know Brandon was going to go on the Ford train, but you know what? All the movies that are better than Beetlejuice and Beetlejuice, I will watch that way over. I will watch Armageddon before this fucking movie, dude.
Hey. All right, that brings us to the end of our podcast, which means it's time for one of our gentlemen to tell us which movie we'll be watching and reviewing next week for the second installment of our Holiday Spooktacular. Since Brandon has the net selection, Brandon, what are we watching and why? Please give us some details.
Thank you for giving me, trusting in me to give you guys a movie after my score. So listen, I'm going to keep this nice.
Don't drop the baton here.
There is absolutely no problem with a genius putting out a That is exactly what we have here. Doesn't mean that Tim Burton is not a genius and that he is not, he's got rent in my heart, and his movies absolutely live rent free there. So here it is. We're going to do one of my favorite Tim Burton movies. We already did Edward Scissorhands, so we can't do that one again. But we're going to do one of, I think, one of the most underrated Tim Burton films. I think it's one that's gotten shuffled away. And we're going to bring in some Johnny Depp. We're going to bring in some Christina Ricci. We're going to bring in some CGI Chris
Sweeney
Walken.
Todd? Oh.
No, not quite. We are going to Sleepy Hollow. That's where we're going. So get your pitchfork and get ready to track down the ghost without a head. So we're going to be doing Sleepy Hollow. I'm excited about this. This is a movie near my Halloween.
So is there a real town named Sleepy Hollow?
There is, and I've been there. And it is the most underwhelming thing that you've ever seen. I love it.
Oh, fuck. Brandon, you suck. I can't believe you just said that.
I wish you would like made it scary.
Yeah,
like,
I was so
like,
excited
we're
about
trying to get
that.
ready.
Are you kidding me?
Ooh, it's underwhelming.
Oh, exciting.
Underwhelming for Brandon, though, doesn't necessarily mean underwhelming for us. He's got a different sense.
Beetlejuice is super underwhelming.
Folks, I'm excited, and you know why? Because this film is from the class of 1999 of one of the greatest years of cinema.
American Pie. The Matrix.
Great choice.
Thank you, sirs.
All right, if you enjoyed our review or a fan of the podcast, we ask you please subscribe wherever you're listening. Give us a 5-star review on Overcast. You can also find us on Instagram at the Gentleman Podcast. You can email us at hosts@gentlemanpodcast.com. And I think Jeremiah has a couple of shout outs to some of our new listeners as we expand our listening pool. Tell your friends, tell your family, because we are how you say catching fire. I think that's
on all the apps, right? We're on all the apps. We're on all
the apps. We're on all the listening apps.
Ooh,
you can even say, "Hey Alexa, play me 3.5 Gentlemen." You know what she's gonna do? She's gonna find it. She's gonna play it.
I hope it's us. I really hope it's us. Somebody's gonna test that.
We have a lot of listeners in London, England, by the way. So goodness gracious, thank you so much out there. Thank you.
London.
3.5 Gentlemen will actually arrive there one day next year, 2025. Watch out.
Sound like you're
we have
London.
listeners over at Margate. Is it Margate? Is it Margate? I'm saying this right.
We'll go with that.
Margate, Florida. Hey,
okay.
Thank you so much. You guys are awesome out there. Middletown, New Jersey. What's up? I see you. Canton, Michigan. I see you as well. Denver, Colorado. I see you as well. Thank you so much.
We're hitting the rock.
You guys are the best.
Tell your friends, tell your family, tell grandma.
Just tell one of your friends. Just tell one person, like, hey, you like movies? You like drinks? Listen to my podcast. Listen to the podcast. This is my favorite podcast, 3.5 Gentlemen. Listen to these guys. Seriously.
If you're on the airplane, and preferably play this so you can cross a couple states so we can get more listeners throughout those other states. And, share another person in the plane you're sitting next to. Say, have you listened to these guys? These guys are who?
They're
a hoot and a half.
We are. A hoot and a half. They're a hoot and a half. I know I watch them every time. Every week I listen to these guys.
Hey, it's playoff baseball season. Come on, it's good stuff.
Well, football season, right?
Listeners.
All right, fellas.
Peace.
Cheers.
Peace out.
As Jared said.
Halloween season among us. Peace out, guys. Yo.
Be safe.